We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Thank you for joining us, and happy Easter week. Looking forward to this evening. Mr. McAdory, if you would be so kind leading us in our invocation and our pledge.
Let us pray. Father, we thank you so much for another day, another opportunity to come. Thank you for the people that are gathered here. I thank you for the hearts and minds that are here right now. Lead and guide in the way that you would have us to go. And we thank you for being so amazing, and thank you for such a great city and great staff. In your mighty, awesome, and matchless name, we do pray and ask. Amen. Attention, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, roll call. Councilman London.
Present.
Councilwoman Cuellar.
Here.
Councilman Box.
Here.
Councilman Sims.
Here.
And myself present. At this time, I would accept a motion for the approval of the minutes from the regular city council meeting on March 21st, 2023.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes for the regular council meeting, March 21st, 2023.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
No abstentions? Okay. At this time, I'd also accept a motion for the approval of the current bills.
Make a motion, we pay the current bills in the amount of $295,653.10.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No abstentions. Okay. At this time, we would accept any professionals or consultants to deliver us a report this evening. Any professionals or consultants? Fair enough. Mayor, you have the floor, sir.
Well, first of all, I want to say good evening to everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Boy, you all sound very enthusiastic tonight. Maybe I sound the same way when I asked the question. You were just following my lead. But I'm going to try to do it one more time to see if you can amp it up a little bit if you all don't mind. Good evening, everyone.
Good
Good evening, Mayor.
All right. I am glad that you all are here tonight to be able to hear the deliberations of the business of the city of Irondale, but also to be able to honor some individuals that have done some outstanding things in the city. I'm going to go ahead and give you the mayor's report first, and then I have 4 proclamations that I have to give tonight. First of all, I want to report on the coffee afternoon with the mayor. We had about 10 individuals that showed up. I would say they showed up for the Krispy Kreme donuts. Because, well, that's another story. But anyway, I want to thank those individuals that came out just to be able to get an update about what was going on in the city. That, I guess you said, meeting was tailored more towards individuals that don't have to work in the afternoon. So we had a lot of the retirees in the city to be here for that. But I want to thank them for coming out and being able to hear what's going on in their wonderful city. On Saturday, around 10 o'clock in the morning, I had an opportunity to participate in the cleanup at Roebuck Plaza. I want to thank the Church of the Highlands for sending their crews out to be able to spruce up Ventura Park. They did a very good job out there. They had a chance to be able to evangelize some people, to clean up and to be able to do some things. But probably the best thing out of the whole event is they had hot dogs and hamburgers with my name on it. So if you didn't enjoy doing anything else, they did provide you with food. Then I had an opportunity to leave there and go to the spring football sign up for the Irondale Mounties. They're getting ready to move out on another season. So I want to thank Mr. Trey Cheney for inviting me up to his fitness center as he was signing kids up, as well as taking them through the motions of learning how to be excellent football players. Then on Sunday, we followed up with the Easter egg experience. If you were not there, you missed a treat. There were over 3,500 eggs that were given out, $200 in cash prizes. I even had one little kid to come up to me and wanted to give me the $5 bill that he found in one of the eggs. I started to take it from him, but I didn't have the heart to do it. So I told him, just remember in maybe 13 or 14 years, if I'm still here, if he just vote for me, I'll be fine with that. But the kids really had a good time in Beacon Park, and I think the adults did too. I did the countdown, and they did not let me make it to one. When I said two, everybody kind of ran out in the fields to be able to do that. But I want to thank the volunteers that participated and that was a part of that as well. On this Saturday, I know everybody in this room has signed up to be a part of the 5K. I don't know, y'all sound kind of silent when I said that. Well, if you don't want to do the 5K, which is 3.1 miles, you can do the 1K fun walk. I know at the present time that I'm signed up for that because I'm in average shape. Councilman London is signed up for that because he's the same way. And we said that we have our wives walking beside us in those 1K. So we may not do the 3.1, but we'll be out there to do the 1K. So I want to encourage everybody to participate, find your place, because we're doing this for Child Abuse Prevention Month. I mean, we really believe that no child should be in a situation where they have to put up with abuse. And we're just trying to do our part to be able to support the Exchange Club Child Abuse Prevention Center, which is on the south side. The proceeds will go to them to be able to eradicate child abuse. The next thing I want to talk about, on Thursday, we had a graduation. This was the 4th class CEI, Citizen Engagement Institute. This was created to be able to get citizens involved in the process, but also for them to know the truth about what's going on in their city, but also where they can go find the truth if they don't want to rely on Facebook. We really had a good time. 5 weeks. They had the opportunity to hear from all of the great department leaders that are here at the city to talk about what was going on in their areas. And then we capped it off with a dinner on Thursday night, as well as a graduation from all of them. And everybody had to give their 30-second elevator speech about what they learned during that time. Therefore, if you were in the class, I'm going to ask you at this time if you would stand up so we can celebrate you for making it through 6 weeks of the Citizen Engagement Institute. And last but not least, we've started Trash Amnesty Day. Started Monday in District 3. Next Monday, the 10th, it'll be in District 4. 17th, it'll be District 5. April the 24th, it'll be District 1. And on May the 1st, we will conclude Amnesty Trash Day on May 1st. Hopefully you got those dates. You can find them on the web, but most of all, you can go to our app and find them there as well. If you want up-to-date information about what's going on in the city, then the app is the place to go. My wife and I did the message with the mayor on Saturday, and I think she mentioned the app about 3 or 4 times. So she was really promoting the people to sign up and to get involved in the app. And also we did do message with the mayor while we were out at the cleanup on Saturday. So if you want to go and to hear that about what's going on in the city, you can be able to do that as well. Now this leads me to giving out the proclamations. Sorry, Council President. I mean, I gave you one Tuesday off, so I apologize for taking so long.
That's all right.
Well, first we're going to do is the proclamation for the Fair Housing Act. I'm going to ask Ms. Vasquez. Did I get it right? Did I pronounce it right or did I butcher it? Okay, all right. I'm going to read this. Josh, thank you for putting this up here for me. Whereas April 11th, 2023 marks the 55th anniversary of the passage of the Fair Housing Act, which enunciates a national policy of fair housing as a right for all who live in the United States. Whereas the Fair Housing Act prohibits discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, handicap, familial status, and national origin, and whereas the fair housing is a positive impact on communities, and whereas economic stability, community health, human relationships in all communities are improved by diversity and integration. And whereas the fair housing is integral to the ethical commitment of members of the National Association of Realtors and the Birmingham Association of Realtors, and is critical to the ability of all real estate professionals to serve their clients, customers, and communities. And whereas the acts of housing discrimination and barriers to equal housing opportunities are repugnant to a common sense of decency and fairness, now therefore be it resolved that I, James Douglas Stewart Jr., Mayor of the City of Irondale, do hereby proclaim the month of April as Fair Housing Month. In the city of Irondale, Irondale is an inclusive community committed to fair housing, and we will continue to advocate for equal housing opportunities for all residents and prospective residents of our great city as we work to build community. In witness whereof, I signed and sealed on the 4th day of April 2023. You all can clap now. You want to say anything?
Just on behalf of the Birmingham Association of Realtors, City of Irondale, for passing this proclamation.
You will stand in front.
Oh, okay.
Mayor show right here. I appreciate you all, yes, well, maybe gonna be in the city government, but, we gonna take this picture first. Then you all can come up and say, and then whoever else will get a picture. Is that okay with the real tours?
It's okay with me.
Okay, I appreciate that. Who else next? Well, come on, Rich.
And now I'm good, yeah, I'm just a morning. Well, you still in the first thing.
Come on, Morgan State. You're here, so you might as well.
Yeah, you make it happen.
Council?
Good. Maybe not.
John, so you going on that without height. He was competing with me, so he told me we were to. That's good, Dale. That's good. All right, John Schoen. Linda too. Okay, and this is for Child Abuse Prevention Month. Whereas our children are the most valuable resources and will shape the future of the city of Irondale, the state of Alabama, and the United States, and whereas childhood trauma, including abuse and neglect, is a serious problem affecting every segment of our community, and finding solutions requires input and action from everyone. Whereas childhood trauma can have long-term psychological, emotional, and physical effects that have lasting consequences for victims of abuse. Whereas protective factors are conditions that reduce or eliminate risk and promote the social, emotional, and development well-being of children. Whereas effective child abuse prevention activities succeed because of the partnership created between child welfare professionals, education, health, community and faith-based organizations, businesses, law enforcement agencies, and families, and whereas communities must make every effort to promote programs and activities that build strong children and families. And whereas we acknowledge that we must work together as a community in partnership to build awareness about child abuse and contribute to promote the social and emotional well-being of children and families in safe, stable, and nurturing environments. And whereas prevention remains the best defense for our children and families. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, James Douglas Stewart Jr., Mayor of the City of Irondale, do hereby proclaim the month of April as Child Abuse Prevention Month. In the City of Irondale, I urge all citizens to recognize this month by dedicating ourselves to the task of improving the quality of life for all children and families. In witness whereof, I have signed and sealed on the 4th day of April 2023.
April is designated Child Abuse Prevention Month, and Exchange Club, National Exchange Club, that's our national project. And here in Irondale, the blue lights and the blue pinwheels you see outside of City Hall are in observance of Child Abuse Prevention Month. Also, if you're not aware, we have a Child Abuse Prevention Center, which the proceeds are going to go from the run to that, and that's associated with Exchange Club. They teach parenting classes and have resources for parents and schools.
Also, Child Abuse Prevention Month is celebrated by wearing blue. Therefore, I don't have 27 blue suits, but on Monday, well, I'm good. I do have 4 blue suits. So every Monday, I'll be wearing a blue suit to celebrate Child Abuse Prevention Month in the City of Irondale. And also, when you go out tonight, make sure you look at the building because we have blue lights around the entire building to be able to celebrate Child Abuse Prevention Month as well.
How many times?
Linda, you can get in the middle. Yeah, we can get in the middle right there. Oh, okay. John has had LASIK surgery, so he's pretty proud of that. No, that's yours. Okay, take that. Thank you, John. And I'll do the holiday. Okay, the next one is for Miss Lauren Jackson. Lauren is a senior at Shades Valley High School. Kim and I had the opportunity to go to the banquet for the Boys and Girls Club of Central Alabama about a month ago. And we were so proud that we were there to have someone from Shades Valley to win the top award. So that's why we are celebrating her tonight with this proclamation. And the proclamation reads, whereas Lauren Jackson is a senior at Shades Valley High School in Irondale, Alabama, and whereas on February 21st, 2023, Lauren was named the 2023 Youth of the Year for the Boys and Girls Club of Central Alabama, And whereas Lauren was awarded a total of $6,000 in scholarships and will be continuing to competition at the regional level. And whereas Lauren has maintained a 4.0 GPA while also serving as the captain of the school tennis team and working as a counselor at the Boys and Girls Club. And whereas Lauren has dedicated her summers to serving others as an intern with the YWCA and a counselor at the YMCA youth camps. And whereas Lauren serves on the media team at Shades Valley High School and also maintains a job at Edgar's Bakery. I like those strawberry, you know. If a strawberry cake or cupcake just happened to show up at City Hall, I'm cool with that. All right. Gotta make sure you keep your priorities straight. And whereas Lauren's the daughter of Leonard and Dorlissa Jackson, now therefore be it here resolved that I, James Douglas Stewart Jr., Mayor of the City of Irondale, issue this proclamation honoring Miss Lauren Johnson for her outstanding, her outstanding accomplishment as the Boys and Girls Club Youth of the Year and for making the City of Irondale proud. In witness whereof, I have signed and sealed on the 4th day of April 2023. You want to say anything?
Hi everyone. I just want to thank the city of Irondale. Ever since I was 6 years old, I went to the Boys and Girls Club and they contributed so much to my life and me growing up. And every dollar that is given helps a little child that I work with. So I just want to say thank you to you all and to the mayor, of course.
I'll be waiting on that cake or cupcakes too.
Just hold on to the plaque as you bring it.
Oh, okay. This is the best part of this job. Council may not think that, but I enjoy it. And last but not least, BJ, you wanna come on up? Micaiah. Micaiah is the youngest person to graduate from CERT in the city of Irondale. She's only 17 years old. And I'll let Miss BJ give you all a little bit more information about what they do with CERT.
Hi. Well, CERT, first of all, stands for Community Emergency Response Team. It's not the candy mint, even though we have given those out from time to time. What we do with CERT is, the easiest way to put it is, if there were a natural disaster, say a tornado came through, our services, our police, our fire, they're going to be overwhelmed immediately. So what we teach you how to do is to prepare in advance to take care of yourself and your family, and then we go out and take care of everybody else. And we work with first responders once they get on scene.
Let me do that. Okay. Whereas Micaiah Freeman is a junior at Shades Valley High School in the Irondale, Alabama. Whereas at age 17, Micaiah is the youngest person to graduate from Community Emergency Response Team program in the city of Irondale. Whereas CERT program training educates volunteers about disaster preparedness, fire safety, light search and rescue, team organization, and emergency medical care. Whereas Micaiah is a dedicated volunteer at community events in Irondale, as well as at her church, Guiding Light Church. And whereas at school, Micaiah has been on the color guard for 3 years and the media team for 2 years. Whereas Micaiah is a student at Shades Valley High School Engineering Academy. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, James Douglas Stewart Jr., why are you laughing at me, Micaiah? Mayor of the City of Irondale issues this proclamation honoring Ms. Micaiah Freeman for her outstanding accomplishments as the Irondale Youngest CERT Program graduate and for making the city of Irondale proud. In witness whereof, I have signed and sealed on the 4th day of April 2023. Is there anything you want to say, Micaiah? You want to say anything? Okay. Grandma, she said you can be in the picture, so come on down. If she would have said no, you know that would have been giving me great pleasure to tell you no. Okay, BJ, you can go ahead and Micaiah, BJ has something she wants to present to you, and then we'll take a picture with all.
Micaiah, I just want to say how proud I am of you, and congratulations and welcome to the Irondale CERT team.
Well, that concludes our proclamations and the mayor's report. However, I did want to mention on Saturday too, we had Arbor Day. So there were trees that were given out. What time was it, John? Did that take place? Arbor Day. Okay. Well, I have an elderberry tree, so if anybody want to come by the house and help to be able to dig the hole for me to be able to put that in the ground, you're more than welcome to be able to do that. But I did want to say this last thing, and what I wanted to say for this last moment, I'm really being serious about it because I would not be here if it wasn't for this person, and that's Martin Luther King Jr. On today, Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated in Memphis, Tennessee, and I'd just like to honor him for doing all of the things that he did, because if he didn't do what he did, then I wouldn't be standing here sharing with you all tonight. That concludes my report for the night.
Thank you, sir. All right. Excuse me. Do we have any reports from any department heads tonight? All right. I'm sure we'll hear from a few of them later, so we'll just let them slide on that one. In regards to our council members and standing committee reports, I'll go ahead and start. I was not able, Mayor, to make it to the pop-up park, but I saw the pictures on Facebook and everything like that. So I appreciate everybody in Church of the Highlands that got out to make that a reality. And then the egg hunt. Yeah, I had to spend some time in the backyard, but my wife and kids went, and they said it was absolutely fantastic. Had a ball. We actually went to an egg hunt the day prior to that up at Tannehill, and she said you guys just blew them out of the water. So for everybody that went and was involved in the extravaganza, I just want to say job well done. It was definitely delivered very well. That is all I have for my report. Councilman Sims.
Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. I don't think I've run 3 miles since I got out of the Marine Corps about 15-something years ago, but we'll see about it. If the fire chief says there's going to be oxygen at the end of the race, maybe I'll be able to make that happen. I believe we have a Holiday Gardens Neighborhood Association meeting next Tuesday night at 6:30 at the Senior Activity Center. And other than that, that's it.
Councilman Box.
Once again, thanks everybody for coming. That's kind of echo and saw, so it gets a little redundant, but looking for any information from my neighborhoods that want to start some projects or get involved with some things here in the city. Just let us know what your desires are and what you'd like to do, and I'll pass it on down.
Over that. Councilwoman Cuellar.
Yes, ditto to the council members. Thank you so much for being here. Just 2 announcements. I'd like to wish everyone within the Christian community very happy Holy Week and a very blessed Easter. And to members of our Jewish community, I'd like to wish you a very holy Passover as you celebrate Passover beginning tomorrow evening and concluding on the 13th of April. A very happy Passover season to you as well. And that's all I have to report.
Yes, sir. Councilman
Thank
London.
you. First of all, good evening again. But I just want to compliment our young lady, Jackson, Miss Jackson. You know, Shays Valley, this community, my kids all went to Shays Valley. It's very passionate to the students, you know, and all I hear in the negative news that we don't have good students at our high schools. We don't have good students in our middle schools. And time again, it's been proven wrong that we have great students at our schools, at our Shays Valley, our high school, at our middle schools, and our elementary schools, you know, and if you want to get involved, go get involved. Just go get involved. I'm there all the time. Just go get involved with our kids. If you don't have anything to do, if you love your school, you love your kids, you may not have any children, go get involved because, again, it's been proven again, we have great kids at Shays Valley High School. Don't believe the hype. Do not stop believing the hype and go get involved with our kids. They need us. Thank you.
Sir. Any reports of any boards or non-council committees? Yes, sir.
Phoenix Club of Irondale has been pretty active amongst other things that Child Abuse Prevention. But also we are putting new ropes up at the high school, the flags. It seems like every flagpole up there had broken ropes. So we're in the process of doing that along with the help of the city because we don't have a crane. But anyway, those are some of the things we're doing besides Child Abuse Prevention and trees.
Thank you, sir. Any other reports from any boards or non-council committees? Okay. So at this time, we're going to need to move into executive session. I'm going to read something here in a moment to sort of describe that. We will need to, the council and a few others will need to move into another room where we discuss a matter, and then we will return to deliberate our agenda items. So for the record, members of the council, I need a motion for the council members to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing legal ramifications and legal options for pending litigation, controversies not yet being litigated, but imminently likely to be litigated, or imminently likely to be litigated if the government body pursues a proposed course of action. I need a motion.
Motion to go into executive session to
Second.
discuss possible litigation.
Okay. Councilwoman Cuellar has made a motion for the body to enter to executive session. I believe I have a second. Who might that be? Councilman Sims has seconded the motion. I'll go ahead and conduct the roll call. Councilman London for executive session?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
Yes.
Councilman Box?
Yes.
Councilman Sims?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Okay. Those present are advised that the council has voted to go into executive session to hear information concerning potential legal ramifications and legal options for pending litigation, controversies not yet being litigated, but imminently likely to be litigated or imminently likely to be litigated if the government body pursues a proposed course of action. The council expects to reconvene in approximately 15 minutes. I'm probably going to say 25 because we always run over. At the conclusion of the executive session, the council will now enter executive session. So we will return to deliberate and move through our agendas. We would love for you to stay with us because we love to hear your comments as well. Thank you. All right, we're going to bring this meeting back to order. I need a motion to exit executive session.
Motion to exit executive session.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Picking up where we left off, we do not have any public hearings tonight, so we will begin our council deliberation on agenda items only. All right, first up on the consent agenda, item number 1 would be resolved that resolution 2023 R35 authorizes the execution of a service agreement with the Greater Irondale Chamber of Commerce in the amount of $35,000 from the 2022-23 fiscal year budget. Councilman
President,
London,
can I
yes,
speak? Can I speak
absolutely,
to this
please.
one before we would start any deliberations on it? Sorry, let me just go through. Okay, I just wanted to be able to clear up some things about this resolution. The reason that we have this resolution on the agenda, because I know for over the last 5 years, the city has supported the chamber at $35,000 a year. In a way that those funds were provided to the chamber, it was divided into 2 payments of $17,500. And it was on a fiscal year. So we would give them a payment in October and we would give them a payment in April. I did not realize at the time that I asked Lee to put this on the agenda that we already had an agreement that was in place with them that automatically renews every year unless we're given a 60-day notice to them that we're no longer going to fund them, or the council does not appropriate the funds during the budgetary process. Well, that is already in effect. I realized that the chamber did not have a director at that time, and they may not have known that they were eligible for the payment to come in April. That's why I asked that we put it on the agenda. But I also asked that we create a resolution for it because I didn't want it to seem as if we were giving the chamber money and the council did not approve it or they did not know anything about it. So that's why I asked for the resolution to be here for transparency, because we're not trying to hide anything from anybody. I mean, my thing is, if you want to hide something, you definitely don't create a resolution to put it on the agenda for everybody to be able to see it. So I wanted to be able to make it public knowledge that that was in place and that was the reason that we're doing it. However, I want to remove the resolution because we already have the agreement in place. We've already made a payment in December that was due in October. And I would just like to keep the current agreement that we have in place until the council deem that they would like to renegotiate or to do something else.
Thank you, Mayor. I know I was kind of looking at this as sort of a housekeeping item, but you're, because to your credit, it's already in place. So you're asking us to go ahead and remove this item for the agenda?
Yes, and also I wanted to let everybody know I wasn't asking for a $35,000 increase. It was only to cover the annual amount that's in the budget as we speak.
Okay. Councilman London, since he's asking to remove it, do you have any questions?
No question on that.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
Yeah, about the only thing that I do is because I have been attending the chamber luncheons for about 10 years now, since I was on the CDA board and even prior. One of the things that we'd always get from the chamber is a budget and financial statement. And I'd be interested to know when they're going to hire an executive director as well, because if my understanding serves me correctly, and Mayor, correct me if I'm wrong, because you were the city clerk at the time as well, is that the reason that the city would support the chamber is because it was a means of providing the funding to help pay for an executive director, which was has always been a part-time position. So I'd be interested to know when you are going to have an executive director.
Can I speak to that?
Yes,
Please.
sure.
Because you said that if you were incorrect, you said, Mayor, I want you to correct.
Yes, correct me, please.
All right. I've been here since 2012 as city clerk. That have cut the payments to be able to go to the chamber. And the chamber has never had to submit anything other than coming to the council to be able to make a report. Number two, the money that goes to the chamber is not to pay the executive director. The city gave the money to the chamber to be able to support the chamber in the operation function of the chamber. So that $35,000 is not restricted to go pay an executive director. That money has always been given to the chamber for the chamber to be able to use at their discretion to make sure that the chamber is viable and that they are doing things in the city to be able to promote and to retain business. John London has been here since that time. Councilman Spivey, or president, has been here since 2016. And I feel very confident that they can agree with me that this money was never given to the chamber to support an executive director's salary.
And I will piggyback on Mayor, being the president of the chamber for a few years. I do recall the payment was always split in two. There was always an agreed amount, and it was always split into twos. I confirm the operational needs and the funding there. And then also being the president, there was never any financials that were submitted to the council in an effort to secure those funds.
What I have is I do have copies of the financials that were submitted to the council.
Maybe recently, perhaps, but historically, not so much.
Okay, because I do have some figures here, and I
Okay.
wanted to make sure that I copied them because I didn't want to go on, if memory serves me right. This actually was submitted to the council, members of the council.
Yeah.
It was a budget that broke down the expenditures as well as the revenue,
Right.
and then the goals for the chamber.
What year was that submitted to the council?
Let's see, this says 2022 calendar here.
Lee, do you have a copy? Because I sure haven't seen a budget.
I'll be
Well,
happy to forward them to you.
Point of order, real quick.
Yeah.
It sounds like if renegotiation is something you're up to, that we can approach that at a later time.
Right.
The mayor at this time has just simply asked us to go ahead and remove this item. So we've got obviously time to talk about anything going forward if we choose to, but
Yes.
he's asking to just remove this item. Are you
Yeah,
are you
I'm
good with
it.
that?
I just want to make sure that we get it in the future because we have been.
Copy that.
Thank you.
Councilman Box.
Oh, no, I'm good. The mayor's removed it and all my questions have been answered on it.
Thank you. Councilman Sims.
I'm good.
All right. So if we can just, when we are approving the form, if we can just make note of that. All right. Item number 2, on consent, Resolution 2023 R36 authorizes the execution of a service agreement with Class Tran in the amount of $2,000 for specialized transportation, paratransit services. Mayor, I know this is on the agenda every year. Is there anything in particular you feel compelled to say about this item?
I know that they're just providing a service to citizens in Irondale that does not have the ability to get to doctor's appointments and certain things like that. So it's definitely a positive to the community.
Copy. Councilman London, any questions?
No question.
Councilman McQuarrie?
Other than just, this is budgeted, right, Mayor?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Box?
No question.
Councilman Sims?
No questions.
Do we all agree to keep this on consent?
Yes.
All right. All right. Item number 3 would be the Resolution 2023 R37 authorizes the execution of a service agreement with the Boys and Girls Club of Central Alabama in the amount of $2,500 for youth development in Irondale, including enabling and motivating all youth to reach their full potential as productive, caring, and responsible citizens. I know we had a presentation on this, but I would be remiss, Mayor, if I did not ask if you had any comments on this.
Yes, we have been trying since 2020 to get a chapter here in the city of Irondale. We have not been able to pull that off yet. I know that they're supporting kids that attend schools within the Jefferson County system that are composed of the schools that are in the city of Irondale. I do not have a number that I can quote to you to say these are the number of kids that are being served by Boys and Girls Club of Central Alabama. But I would say tonight you had an opportunity to be able to see one individual that participates in Shades Valley that had an opportunity to go through it. But we're still working to be able to get a chapter here in the city, and hopefully it could happen soon. And I do have a letter that I received from the executive director that I didn't get a chance to be able to get it to you all. Councilwoman Cuellar does have a copy of that letter, but if anybody needs a copy of the letter, I can provide that to you as well.
Thank you, sir. Councilman London, any questions or comments?
Well, just comment, you know, if it helps one person, I think it's well worth it. And I think we all of us, the whole city needs to get behind this Boys and Girls Club and try to get one to Irondale. We've been working on it. You know, Councilwoman Cuellar and I have been working, and Mayor's been meeting with the executive directors. You know, we need to get behind it. The city, I think the city needs to get behind it. If it helps one person, and the other person helps another person, and that person helps another person, we got a whole city that we're helped. So thank you, Mayor, for that.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman Cuellar?
Yeah, just some comments. I want to thank Mayor Stewart for bringing this to us. I am certainly one that's excited to see that that we're starting here. And yes, Councilor London, you're absolutely right. That this is one of the things that the teachers have said. The Boys and Girls Club is very instrumental in providing mentorship for the students that are here in the schools in Irondale, and also provide tutoring, which is very needed. So I'm happy to see this going, and I hope that we eventually have a Boys and Girls Club here in Irondale. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Box?
No questions.
Councilman Sims?
No questions.
And myself, no questions. We agree to keep this on consent?
Yes.
All right. Item number 4, resolve that resolution 2023 R38 authorizes the execution of an engagement letter with Wallace, Jordan, Ratliff, and Brandt LLC for representation of the city of Irondale related to certain water matters. Do we agree to keep this on consent?
Yes.
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 Thank you. Item number 5, resolve that resolution 2023 R39 authorizes Mayor James D. Stewart Jr. to execute a contract with These Guys LLC for the holding of It's All Traffic, a class on cycling laws in Irondale in an amount not to exceed $2,297.50. Chief Wiggins, this has your name on it. Would you care to speak on it? I told you I'd get a report from a department head. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This is a training we want to provide our officers, but also to build rapport with the cyclists. Irondale has a lot of cyclists, and it's getting that time of year. We just want to educate our officers, build rapport, have a training process so they can best provide a safety for the cyclists throughout the city.
Councilman London, any questions for Chief Wiggins?
So they're just totally for the officers or any citizen
Yeah, we're open for citizens
to come into the training, which you have.
The best rapport with the cyclists and the officers is good, and even non-cyclists is best.
Right. Also, you announce the dates and times and all that.
We will, yeah, but
Okay.
at the time, yeah, we'll make this pretty first.
Okay.
We're looking in June or July.
Okay. Are we doing cop stop tour?
Yes.
We are?
Weather provided.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman Cuellar, any questions for Chief
No
Wiggins?
questions. I'm glad you're doing it, Chief Wiggins.
Councilman Box?
No questions.
Councilman Sims?
They were already answered. Thank you.
And I agree fully. Thank you, sir. Do we agree to keep this on consent?
Yes.
Yes.
Outstanding. All right, parts of the regular agenda. Item number 6. Let's see, ordained that ordinance 2023-09A affirms ordinance 2023-09 with the inclusion of Exhibit A for the approval of the execution of an intergovernmental paving agreement with Jefferson County, Alabama for the paving of a portion of Amber Hills Road. From what I understand, this is already done. It's just that Exhibit A was not really recorded when this was put into the books. So we were literally just adding Exhibit A to what we've already done. It doesn't change the spirit of the ordinance. Councilman Lennon, any questions?
No question.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
No questions.
Councilman Box?
No questions.
Councilman Sims?
None.
And myself, none. All right. Item number 7, ordain that ordinance 2023-14 grants a sewer franchise to Phoenix Water Resources LLC for the term of 3 years with the right to extend the franchise as approved in the franchise agreement. Mr. Morris, this has your name on it. Would you care to speak on it, or would you prefer to turn it over to? All right. Hey, Lanier. Some of us know you well. Some of us may be meeting you for the first time. Indeed. So if you just want to, you just want to lay it out there, and yeah.
Well, I think this goes back to 2011, right, Mayor? Started out. And,
Yes.
Franchise renewals come up, and legal counsel for the cities draft a renewal document. I've asked for a small rate increase because our chemicals have increased roughly 30%. Got still the burden of flushable wipes, a national problem. Ruins pumps and replace them in order to keep these sewer treatment plants. I'm happy to answer any questions. I don't know exactly what's been passed around.
Sure.
So,
Councilman London?
questions for me?
No question.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
Yes, I do. Is Frank Pennington here tonight?
No.
Okay. One of the things that has me concerned, and not so much with you, Lanier, but we've had easements and public right-of-ways where we've had to cut into, and especially in my district, District 3, and many of our residents, I mean, it took a long time, and I looked at this and it said reasonable amount of time, but it took an extremely long time to get those areas repaired, and it even became a safety issue, and they were calling the Public Works, and I've asked Mr. Pennington to be here to kind of shed some light on what we were dealing with, but we really need to work on that because it really took a long time, and I'm concerned about the safety of our residents when these.
Certainly don't want that. Sorry.
It was just an issue, not with.
Right, that's what I said, not so much.
They didn't get fixed in a timely manner, and a few other issues on some guardrails and curbs that they got still replaced, so I mean, that's.
We're talking about the asphalt on.
Anytime I've spoken with Lanier.
Right, right, it's not so much you, sir.
Yeah, we do our best to, I'd say that was a construction project, it wasn't reactionary. So I apologize if we were delayed in time, but it's certainly our intent to get everything resolved in a timely manner. So hopefully we will be better at that.
Yeah, if you could please put them in, especially, please don't remove the equipment until you finish what you've started. Because once the equipment's removed, it takes a long time to get it back to finish it. And in this case, I mean, it was 4 months, 5 months, and that's a really long time for those roads not to be accessible. And even when you try to cross them, it was really a safety concern. You could damage your vehicles, things of that sort. They were really cut into.
Understood. I just kind of looking at where we see our future as far as kind of extending. I don't see very many driveways or streets to be cut anymore. Maybe we did 2 bores underneath Old Beach Road, Grants Mill. Again, I'll be better at that and certainly convey that to the contractors when we go out to bid. And I will certainly coordinate with Mr. Pennington and try to strive to be better with the contractors going on.
Thank you, Lanier. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
Councilman, yes, sir.
All right, can you tell me where were those streets? Okay, and this was when what line was ran? Okay.
Councilman Box, any questions for the gentleman?
No questions.
Okay, Councilman Sims?
No questions.
All right. And myself, no questions. I've always appreciated the open dialogue that you've allowed me to have with you. So I would challenge y'all, to use that same channel.
Yeah.
Thank y'all so much.
Thanks, sir.
All right. Item number 8 would be, let's see here, Ordain that ordinance 2023-15 modifies Chapter 4 Building and Building Regulations, Article I in General, Section 4-11, entitled Masonry Required on Structures in Certain Zoning Districts to modify the facade requirements in the city. So before we kind of get going into this, obviously we know the big factor is the 60% masonry that we're requiring on certain things. Obviously we haven't had a chance to discuss this amongst ourselves and everything. We know in Mr. Box, there was Councilman Box, there was a case brought forth that I think kind of brought this out, but we know we probably have some other cases that may be impacted by it. There was some verbiage added in there regarding glass, but overall the structure of the existing ordinance wasn't changed that much. Only the materials were kind of modified a little bit. In passing, I've heard where there may be some desires to play with different zonings and, okay, well, yes, I'm going to require this here, but I don't really want to require that there. I think that's all well and good, and I'd love to have the conversation. But knowing that this company that Councilman Box brought forward is literally on the line waiting for us to move forward in regards so that they can go forward with their plans, I would ask us to pause and think, can we adjust the building ordinance in the future to some of the things that may be coming? Yes, we know we can. Do we want to delay this 2 weeks so that we get it right all in once? I would challenge you guys to kind of balance that, because we do have a business with plans that are, they're waiting for us, essentially. And we know time is money. So I propose that we either, and I'll leave that up to you guys and we can discuss it, that we either delay this 2 weeks or we contemplate deliberating on this as it is written now, and then if we need to pivot and make some adjustments at a later time for some cases that are kind of coming down the pipe, then I would charge us with doing that. So all of that being said, I hope I didn't just butcher my thought there by speaking too much. Councilman London, do you have any thoughts on the matter?
If we vote it as is and come back and change it in 2 weeks, is there any legal replication that comes from that? If we approve the two, I know we got two, I think, that's come before us.
So you're just talking about coming back at the next annual city council meeting and actually making amendments to it.
Right.
It would likely be easier if you anticipate coming back at that short of a period. It would probably be easier if you waited to pass the ordinance at that time. If you thought that you were going to be longer, then you may want to, consider passage of this ordinance if you have somebody who's actually concerned.
I guess, Mel, you've been in contact with the new building. Is he? Oh, there you are.
Yeah, he's back there.
I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Can I ask him a question, I guess?
Please.
So what's your timeline?
We were hoping to have resolution tonight. Let our architect proceed on finalizing the plans. I will say, from our standpoint, if the industrial zonings are considering being removed from that requirement, that, we would certainly understand. And 2 weeks, certainly not object to that playing out over 2 weeks. But obviously I don't, we've been here for a month, basically, trying to get some level of comfort to move forward.
Right.
So I'm a little bit in catch-22. I understand your concerns with modifying an ordinance and then coming back in 2 weeks and modifying it again, potentially.
Right.
Council President Spivey and April, I guess you guys still have variance request before the council, is that correct?
No, we don't.
Okay.
Well, it's actually, yes, it is still technically from 2 weeks ago, it was continued, not.
Okay, so could we not go ahead and just grant 2 variances tonight with an understanding that we're going to retool our ordinances, and that when they get ready to do their phase 2, phase 3s, whatever their other increased business is going to be, they may face different ordinances that you may have to comply with then. There won't be another variance granted. But could we not go ahead and grant variances tonight since this has been extended? Okay.
The second variance has not been requested. So
Okay.
that one's actually,
Which variance is it that is in front of us?
that would be
Right.
this project.
Industrial, yeah.
So that's fine. So we could grant the 1 variance tonight, and then if the other entity decided to file for a variance, we could grant that one as well, and then retool this ordinance to reclassify these zonings of what we would require in those zonings. Okay. So that with that understanding, if we granted the variance, then I would say that the variance that's on the table would be with the understanding that when you come back for phase 2 and phase 3, you may be facing, additional requirements that wouldn't provide for a variance.
I don't believe this gentleman's talking about 1 building, 1 phase. Correct?
For a total of 4 phases.
Okay, gotcha.
Total
My
of
bad.
4.
I apologize.
Now,
Cut the
don't say
variance.
that you'll be facing anything different. We may actually remove it as we're talking about as part of retooling. But anyway, that I wanted to make that very clear that if we granted a variance tonight, that you could be facing additional requirements, or you could be facing no requirements, because I think we need to go back and retool this ordinance and put some thought into it for what we want to require in what different zonings. So that's my comment and my question.
I
We do have
appreciate that, and I think I'll understand that, and that would be a business risk that we would have to decide whether to take or not, but I would certainly appreciate consideration of variance based on circumstances that we're in today.
So can I ask one question? So how many, are you trying to get 2 phases done now, or 1 phase?
1.
Currently, we apply.
One
building,
phase.
one phase.
Okay,
Hindsight, based on where we are, I might ask for 2.
Yeah.
But currently, we're in for 1 building.
okay.
Thank you, Council President. I didn't mean to go out of order, but
Councilwoman Cuellar?
No, just thank you so much for being here, and to the gentleman, thank you for being here as well. You did hear what we were saying. We would be willing to consider a variance for you. Right, you haven't filed for one yet, but we would be willing to do that. And in talking, Councilman Box and I did speak about this, and what he was saying about the future buildings, and so it could work either way. I mean, we are wanting to look at industrial, we are wanting to look at institutional zoned areas as well. So just know that for the rest of the council, I would like for us to have an ordinance committee meeting to discuss the different zoned areas and work on something that is really going to be applicable to each area, because you're involved in a different industry, and I get that.
And the masonry, and I don't want to take this to go later, to here. The masonry requirement's not unusual. It's fairly unusual in the industrial zone.
Right.
Sector. So, we would entertain if y'all are willing to grant the variance tonight, allow us to move on. And if you need any input on moving forward in the future on changes.
the mayor had advised on a possibility of this, and I think that his wisdom is going to prevail there as granting at least this 1 variance for now and looking at the other one, but definitely reiterating there will be plans for, as Councilwoman Cuellar mentioned, requirements in different zones.
Councilman Sims?
I think your building looks great, and I was ready to vote on it last time. But if we grant the variance was postponed. Is there not a way to make it go ahead and go for any of the, I mean, I think they should all look the same. I mean, if you build one or two now, the next, I don't know, is there a way to make it just cover? I mean, as long as the rest of them match that one.
Well, one of the concerns that I would have is if we're going to be looking at revising our ordinances so that they are applicable to various zones such as industrial and institutional, and these buildings don't come up until after we've made our revisions to the ordinances, then others would say, well, they were covered even though they didn't build, and you got this ordinance, and then they came after. So I would be hesitant to grant it, make a blanket one if the buildings weren't to come up about 3 or 4 years later.
Mayor.
Yes, I feel the same way. Extending grace on the first one, because these were projects that were in process, I can understand that. But I also understand that it took 2 to 3 years for these projects to get to that point. And I don't agree with including all of them in there now, based on all of them need to look alike. I do agree that whatever we come up with, then that's what you'll have to do, and there will not be any variances unless you just decide that you don't want to build. But we won't have any variances in the next one. We will have something that everybody's agreed on, and that's acceptable. And when that's in place, then I don't want you coming to City Hall asking me for a variance. I don't want you coming to the City Council. I mean, we don't do this in other municipalities. If you're in Mountain Brook and Mountain Brook tell you got to build a certain way, you build a certain way. If you in Vestavia, they tell you got to build a certain way, you build a certain way. If you're in Hoover, all these other municipalities, when they say you got to build a certain way, you either build a certain way or you don't build at all. And I think Irondale has to be that way as well. We're trying to make our city aesthetically pleasing. We want it to look good just like all the other municipalities. So I believe that when we create something, we have to stand by it. And if the businesses cannot do what we ask them to do, we'd love to have them here in the city. But businesses have a way of compensating for the cost and making up for that as well. I just think we need to create a standard, and we hold people to that standard.
I thank you, Mayor. So are you advocating because of the length of time this project has been developing that we grant this variance for this one particular item that's in front of us this evening?
Yes, I can see grace.
Okay.
On the first one.
I'll come back around, Councilman London.
I had a thought. So here's my thought. The order that we have in front of us, somewhere, and we've all read it and understand it. Do we like what we have? Because I really hate kicking the can down the road.
Fair enough.
And have people just continue to come back and we not making a decision. We had it a couple of weeks. We knew about it. What's wrong with passing what we have? If we like it, let's pass it. Let's move on. If it's a good ordinance for our city, like the mayor said, if it's bring everybody in line, give you grace on this first one, and let's move forward.
Okay. I think what Councilwoman Cuellar is getting at, and don't let me put words in your mouth, please, is that there are in this ordinance, there's some changes that are proposed to this ordinance that we have in front of us tonight. And so I think that's why the avocation is leaning towards the variance, so that we technically, we still need to retool this ordinance if that's what the body decides on, and decide on that at a later time. But if we grant the variance, he gets to move forward with his current phase as is, with that grace extended, and we come back and decide on an ordinance. So he moves forward, and then we try to quickly move forward as well. So that's how the variance thing kind of works. I think we could always pass the ordinance and come back to it as well. So there's that. So I think that's kind of what you're saying. Yeah. So from legal standpoint, I'd be curious as to what's the cleanest way to do this.
Yeah.
changing
Okay.
as it is moving forward. And, that would be the very cleanest way.
So you also advocate the variance if we choose to issue one and then retool the ordinance and pass.
I would actually, recommend from a legal basis, going forward with the ordinance as it was written now, and then coming back, and should you want to make changes like we talked about, then to actually make changes to the current ordinance.
Okay. So you advocate from a legal standpoint, passing the ordinance that we have in front of us and then retooling it if we need to. That with the glass component on there, that still should allow him to move forward, but we can address other cases as they come up with a retool ordinance. Is that correct?
You could actually look at the ordinance overall and see, since this was adopted in 2007, there could have been changes to what you all want to see as a body. And so that would allow you to look at those, and it would allow you time to look at those and to work the ordinance, into exactly the way that you see the city going forward.
Mayor?
And the reason that this was adopted in 07 because the city did not want to have Butler buildings in visible places that we are trying to change the image of the city. That was the intent for the whole deal. If you look at Kendall Electric, they got some metal to their building, but they also complied and was able to do exactly what the city asked them to do at that time. So that's where this whole deal came into effect in 07, because we wanted to be able to control what buildings look like throughout the city and not allow people just to throw up whatever they wanted to throw up just because it fits what they need to do for themselves.
Copy. So, and Councilwoman London, I'll come back to you one last time. Given what legal has said, any final thoughts on this?
I mean, I agree with what she said.
Okay. Councilwoman Cuellar?
The only question I would have on this for legal is, instead of doing the variance, and we have another gentleman that has approached the council, if we were to pass this ordinance with this revisions that have been made, would that solve their desires to move forward with what they want to do, or would we have him coming back to the council asking for a variance because it wouldn't fit what he needs? Yes.
We submitted a variance on March 10th. And I don't know where this is what I was talking with the mayor. I paid $25 and I took it down to the office here on Crestwood Boulevard. So I have documentation where I submitted it, and I've got a copy where I sent to my lawyer. So this week we submitted one as well before this bill actually gets there. So I don't know if this was lost in the mail.
Right. Well, I also, during I'm gonna tell the rest of our conversation, because during our conversation, I also said that unless I'm wrong, I don't know that we charge for a variance. And that if something was going to be put on the city council agenda, it would come through the city clerk and it would not go through the permitting office.
Well, that's where I was told to go and do the variance.
Who made the application to planning and zoning?
Okay, so where did the $25 come in?
We called him and told him that it's come through the council.
Okay, I thought that's how the process
And
works.
I was advised to, it had to go through the zoning. Nobody, and Greg is right, absolutely, you told me the council had to do it. That I was advised legally, no, it has nothing to do, if you look at the state ordinances or state laws, it's basically everybody does it the other way. So it was just confusion on our part, my part, because I listened to legal.
Okay. So I'm gonna.
To your question, I cannot say as of this point whether or not this would actually cure any issue that he has, because when I reached out to his lawyer to ask for a timeline, I did not have not heard back. So I don't actually know whether this would solve any issue there.
Once again, if we need to readdress, we can always readdress.
Okay.
Final thoughts? Councilwoman Quayle?
No,
Okay.
I appreciate our legal counsel and her advice. And if we need to readdress, and to the gentleman, if you need to readdress, because we have been advised to pass this with revisions that have been made. And if it still will not work out for you, then you need to come to see the council and request a variance, and we can try to work with you, sir.
Let's let those two
Right.
work it out first.
Your lawyer with our lawyer.
Well, that's what I'm going to. I just want to share because Mr. Van Winkle did come to meet with me last Thursday, and I told him that I can't have a conversation with you about what we're getting ready to do at the council, because as soon as your attorney stood up and said that he was representing you, that means that now your attorney got to get with our attorney.
Right.
So he and I had no discussion about this ordinance or what we could do or what we couldn't do, because once somebody brings their attorney, it changes the game where it needs to now become a conversation between the two attorneys, not the mayor, not the council, or the staff.
But then how is the issue decided at that point? So the two lawyers are gonna talk and they're gonna come up with an answer, and they're gonna say, okay, based on this is what you get. So if the council isn't involved, that doesn't, if you take two attorneys, which is fine, I get it. But so where does this council, who decides the variance? Is this lady, the attorney here? Is she gonna say, granting a variance? No, he's not gonna grant. Does she have control of what we say?
No,
As
nobody,
point of order?
I never,
Council
can I answer?
Yeah.
I never said that the attorneys need to get together and agree about anything. I said the attorneys need to get together to be able to put something together to bring to the council, but we don't need to have discussions with me, the council, and the staff when you have an attorney.
As your attorney represents you, our attorney represents us. So they will talk, our attorney will counsel us, and we'll move forward. It is not on our agenda this evening.
Wasn't on last week, it wasn't on 2 weeks ago, now it's not on this one, so I'm just curious where we're standing.
Council President.
Mr. Van Winkle, please, for just one moment. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Greg told me that it was not accepted and was actually sent back, and so to submit. And so that's why, the city was not aware that it was on the agenda because it did not ever come to.
Okay. So,
And just as, I recommend that you consider the ordinance tonight as it is written, subject to how you all agree to.
okay. But in regards to addressing his concern about his variance, who do you recommend? Do you recommend that he talk to his attorney about his variance and that attorney talks to you? Is that the channel we need to go through in regards to any potential variance requests? So they should get with you. Thank you.
So that we can talk through what the appropriate, course of action is to get it on the city council's agenda, because the council is the ultimate body.
Perfect. Thank you. So you have your path. Thank you.
Council President.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I do have one additional question then. We have an appropriately registered variance before us. If we pass the ordinance as it has been retooled, does that necessitate that his variance is withdrawn and he can move forward, or do we need to pass the resolution and grant his variance?
His resolution that requested the variance was continued. So technically, it isn't before you at this meeting. So it is not set on this agenda. Now, you all may consider bringing it back up and actually move to have it added to the agenda. You may do that, and that would be resolution 2023 R33. And so you could have it added to your agenda, but it currently is not on your agenda.
Thank you.
It's my understanding that the issue was compliance with the 60% of masonry, but that buildings would be glass as well. And so, it's my understanding that adding the 60% glass or masonry would satisfy the concerns.
That's my understanding as well.
Right, it's mine too.
Because the whole issue is the glass and not the masonry, and this addresses that.
Okay, so the variance does not need to be considered. Passing the ordinance tonight would allow this gentleman to move forward.
That's the way I understand it.
Okay, very well. Thank you. No more questions.
Councilman Sims?
Well, I guess I'll just ask you, sir, 60% glass and or masonry, is that what your current plans?
It's not, our building does not meet 60% as currently drawn.
Okay.
I haven't.
So I would,
So we're back to.
I would
adding-
support the variance be granted and then also pass this ordinance.
Just waiting. Yes, sir.
Oh, I didn't have anything.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I didn't have anything.
So since this ordinance does not satisfy his ability to move forward, it sounds like we're still dealing with, obviously we have the ordinance in front of us. But this doesn't necessarily address his concerns. Councilman Sims has motioned for adding the variance to the agenda, I believe.
Yes.
Okay. So I've been to variance boards, but as far as how to articulate that, as far as adding it to the agenda, I would need some verbiage if the body decides to do this. Councilman London, I think you realize we're kind of in a dual prong thing here. What's your thoughts on the variance?
Well, I think we already said we're gonna give him grace this one time.
Fair enough. Councilwoman Cuellar?
I'm good with adding the variance.
Okay. Councilman Box?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm good as well. So we need to go ahead and add an additional item to the agenda for the variance?
So now would be resolution 2023 which was on the city council's agenda as of March 21st.
Does that just need a motion in a second?
I'm sorry?
Does that just need a motion in a second?
No, I think we've all unanimously decided to go ahead and put it on the agenda. Yeah. We would add that when we approve the form. So that would be item number 9, and restate that resolution, if you would, legal.
R33.
Resolution 2023-33.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it would be resolution 2023. And it would authorize a special exception to the facade requirements for the Hub Commercial Center located near the corner of Alton Road and
Bahamian.
Okay.
as allowed by section 4-11 of the municipal code for a specially designed building.
So I'm going to consider her having read that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Do we need to make that number 8?
That's number 9.
Number 9.
It can be-
But we've got to
correct,
pass
but
the
we removed
variance
one,
before
you're
we pass
correct.
the new one, because the new one does not allow variance. Correct.
So it'd be item 9.
Is item number 9.
Yeah, so that could be
I mean, we
item
can vote
8.
them both tonight, correct? We just have to do it in order.
No, we could substitute number 8, the ordinance, with resolution 2023-R-33. Just,
Well, I'm just saying, we could vote them both tonight if we did the variance
But-
first.
Correct.
but if we're gonna look at our ordinances on here, why pass it?
Legal, from your perspective, is there need to be a particular order? Because I know often ordinances repeal certain language. So do we need to go ahead and issue the variance with the current ordinance in place and then pass the new ordinance, which would repeal all further ordinances? Outstanding. All right. So that being said, resolution 2023-R33 would supersede. We'd flip that around basically.
That would become item number 8.
That would become item
Yes.
number 8, and item number 8 would become item number 9.
Okay.
I'm not sure who's introducing this agenda, but Godspeed. All right, so that concludes all deliberation on agenda items only. All right, so at this time, I would ask for an approval of the form of the agenda.
Motion to approve the form of the agenda, removing item number 1 from the consent agenda, adding item number 8 as resolution 2023-R33, and renumbering ordinance number 2023-15 as item number 9.
Second. Was there a second on that? We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. All right. That being said, we would accept comments to the council on agenda items only. Comments to the council on agenda items only. Yes, sir. I will limit you to 2 minutes, so please feel free.
The current president of the Chamber of Commerce. Just wanted to address y'all and say, look, we appreciate, I've been on the board for 2 years now. We've been through a lot during that time. We are currently looking for a director. We've interviewed people last Friday. A really good candidate came out of that. And we are rebuilding the chamber this year. We're doing events. We have great support from the city, which we certainly appreciate. And moving forward, we've had 2 luncheons so far this year. We've also are doing a lunch and learn later this month, and we're going to continue to do those. And we're going to give back to our members by not charging for those lunch and learns. We will have the luncheons, but you know we're moving forward, and it's about the businesses that are here in Irondale that are members. We're going to try to get more members that are in Irondale. You know, they're businesses that aren't currently members. We're going to reach out to them, and then we're strategically going to reach outside of Irondale. Okay, and we really do appreciate y'all's support. And if you ever have any questions, more than happy to give you all my contact information.
Perfect. Thank you. Appreciate your service to the board. Any other comments to the council regarding agenda items only? Okay. With no other comments on agenda items, I'd ask for an approval of the consent agenda.
Make a motion that we approve the consent agenda with items 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, moving on to the new business. Would go ahead and if someone could take us through the process of 23-9A.
Make a motion.
Go ahead.
Make a motion that ordinance 2023-9A be considered read.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye. Make a motion that we suspend all rules that would prevent the immediate consideration of ordinance 2023-9A.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call. Councilman Linden?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
Yes.
Councilman Box?
Yes.
Councilman Sims?
Yes.
And myself, yes.
Make a motion that ordinance 2023-9A be approved and adopted.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, sir. If someone could take us through the process of 23-14.
Make a motion that ordinance 2023-14 be considered read.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
I make a motion that we suspend all rules that would prevent the immediate consideration of ordinance 2023-14.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call. Councilman Linden?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
Yes.
Councilman Box?
Yes.
Councilman Sims?
Yes.
And myself, yes.
I make a motion that ordinance 2023-14 be approved and adopted.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right, for the real number 8.
I make a motion that ordinance 2023 R33 be considered read.
One
No,
moment.
resolution.
Oh,
We
my
flipped the
bad.
order.
That's
Yep.
right.
I don't think we have to take it.
Yes.
All right.
Make a motion that resolution, let's see, 2023 R33
Be approved.
be approved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, and someone can take us through the process on 23-15.
I make a motion that ordinance 2023-15 be considered read.
Second.
Motion and a second.
Mr. President, legal, got a question.
Should be the other way.
No, something I wanted to let you know about ordinance 2023-15 is that actually removes the council's ability to grant a special exception.
That's what I was.
But if we pass the variance before we pass the ordinance,
Well, but we do have another person that may be presenting a variance that could be considered for grace as well, so that we wouldn't be, yeah.
but
I was
that's
just
why we,
asking why we could just remove it.
gotcha.
Yeah, I make a motion that we remove it.
Okay, I did not catch that. I'm sorry.
Yes.
But if we retool this, we can change that language as well, correct? So we
Which
would
find
be-
ourselves kind of back in the same place.
The passage in the city council to grant a special exception.
That's why I wanted to remove it.
Gotcha. Well, we've approved the form of the agenda now, so we are here. So with that being said, we have to
Ask a
deal with
question.
this.
If we have a first reading and then deal with it next time, that gives 2
That's not
weeks
enough
for a
time.
variance to come in, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
We've already considered it read and second, but I don't think we made it, so we could actually just consider it read and then not let it in the second step. I wouldn't get a second of the motion.
Or just not do it at all.
Just not do it. That's why I asked to remove it.
We can,
Would we
Yeah.
go back and amend the agenda or not?
so regarding this, since we've already got a second on our first step, we do not need to go through the second and the third process. Okay, so we'll just to make sure we finish the process on the first step, I know I got a motion. Did I get a second on the first process?
Not Sim
got a motion
seconded.
Second, you did, yeah.
Okay, and all in favor of the reading?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So we'll just stop the process right here. Okay, perfect. Well, that was fun.
Yeah. Learning.
Okay, that was fun. All right, so that can,
Mayor's laughing at us rookies over there.
Don't get complacent.
it's something new every time with your agenda, Mayor. Something new every time. All right. So that being said, this concludes our agenda. At this time, we would be open to any comments on non-agenda items. So these would be things that we have not deliberated or discussed. These would be non-agenda items. With no comments to the council on non-agenda items, I would ask for
Motion.
motion, second. All in favor? Outstanding.